All right, great. I want to thank Bharath and Rajiv for doing this GCS-led knowledge transfer. And they're in two separate locations, so we will start with Bharath, and he will pass it over to Rajiv when he's done. So I think, do you guys want to take questions as we go, or do you want to pause periodically?
Yeah, I mean, they can ask questions whenever they're having any doubt.
Okay, and just so... All right, that's good. And so people know, I'm going to be recording this and mostly displaying my screen, full screen, so I won't be seeing the chat window. So if people are typing in questions in the chat window and I'm not pausing, please let me know, so you can just unmute yourself and let me know that there are some questions. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Bharath, and I'll let you guys get started.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. This is Bharath from GCS Bangalore, and along with me, Rajiv Ranjan from GCS Hyderabad, will be presenting the TT on integration of SOAP and REST web service with PRPC. The basic session plan is giving introduction and integration, and discussing about SOAP and digital terminology, and going to demo on SOAP connectors and explaining about SOAP services. And I'll briefly explain about WS security, and I will discuss about SOAP UI and TCP monitor tools as well. Later, my colleague Rajiv Ranjan will give a overview of REST connector and service. So coming to integration, like we'll be coming across many things to be integrated with. One is, we can say about SOAP, REST, otherwise EJB, JMS, them many other things. Now we are concentrating only on SOAP and REST, and in PRPC we have wizards for both, for SOAP and REST, and for connectors and service as well. So now I should explain what is a connector and a service. So I'll take this diagram as an example. See, like whenever PRPC is connecting with some other application, then we'll say PRPC as a connector. As you could see here, it makes a connection and it creates a request and sends it to that application. Now PRPC is acting as a connector. So after receiving the request, the application processes it and sends the response back to PRPC. So now, like we are saying, PRPC is consuming that service. So there's one more thing, that is the service, where PRPC would be processing the request and sending the response. In this, some other third-party application will be sending the request to PRPC, and PRPC processes the request and send it. So sends the response. Here we'll say PRPC is acting like a service. So this is the difference between the connector and service. So coming to SOAP, let me explain what is SOAP. SOAP is a simple object access protocol. It's the XML message format which is used to transfer data from client to server, and from that the server sent back to the client. So here we come across one more terminology, that is WSDL, that is Web Service Description Language. It tells us how the service can be used. It will tell what is the request format you should frame and send it to the service. So I'll give an example of WSDL using this calculator Java class. So I've used annotations to create a service out of this. So in this one, I've created this calculator class as a service. So for this calculator service class, there will be corresponding one WSDL file. So I could go here and see there's a service element, and calculator is the name of that service, and it tells us which is the URI which the client should send the request to. So coming to this, then it's having this web method. That is, we say in WSDL the operations. So in that particular service, we have this, in this calculator service, we have this add operation. So in this add operation, it will be saying like what should be passed into it. So it takes two arguments of type parameter class. Say like parameter might be another object, so which I'll be passing into this add method. So coming here, it will say like it takes add request, and this particular operation will receive this add request element, and it will give the add response as the output. Coming to this, so whatever the input I'm passing, so this is the add element. So in that add request element, this would be referred. Let me search for add request. So add request, which is being sent to that add operation, it takes this add element. Add element contains two elements again. That is whatever I've mentioned here, parameter A and parameter B goes to add method means here two element types of parameter will go into this. So this is how it is defined. Now like whenever I run the connector and metadata wizard, connect soap wizard, which is newly introduced in Pega 7.6. So it creates parameters, these parameters, and like the pages for these. Say like the object there, the parameter would be converted to a page in PRPC. So for this thing, let me run the connector and metadata wizard and check like what are all the rules it will generate, so that it can connect to this calculator service. So I'll be using this connector and metadata wizard because this one will at the end of the wizard, it will show us what are the rules it got generated. So it is easier for the beginners, so I'll go with this one. But there's one more wizard. This is the create soap integration wizard, which is newly introduced, and it is performance wise, or like it is more robust in nature. But since it is this one is simple, I'll be using it. And in this one, the base class is the one in which all the rules would be generated, and this is the activity which would be used to call the service would be in the organization level class. So it would be in the work class. So coming to this, I have to import the WSDL. So this is the WSDL which I have for the service which I have created. So let me import this WSDL. So these are the earlier run work types for that wizard. So in this one, it shows what is the operation available for that service. That is the add, and it takes add request as the input, and it gives add response element as the output. So these things, how it got to know, that is from the WSDL itself. So whenever you are consuming like any service, you need the WSDL, and though you are not able to access that service also, you can create these mapping rules. But like you won't be able to connect to it, you can create mock service, which I'll be talking about later on. So this authentication, like if that particular web service needs authentication, then we can make use of this, where we'll be creating authentication profile rule. But here, since this service doesn't need any authentication, I'm not using it. So this authentication is something which would be the basic authentication, where the authentication details will go in the HTTP header, not in the SOAP envelope. So now we'll be selecting the default option, generate data class, and now it creates two rules. That is the mapping rules. One is XML string and one more is XML parsed rule. So why it is used? So whenever we are dealing with PRPC, we are looking into the properties in the clipboard, whether it's a page or anything, it would be the clipboard details. But what we should send it to service, that is the SOAP envelope. So coming to this, like I was telling, like the PRPC deals with the clipboard data. So whatever we should send it to servers, it should be in the SOAP envelope format. So how the mapping would be done? From clipboard to SOAP envelope, it is XML stream. Whether it's a connector or a service, we don't care. It is the XML stream which creates an XML from the clipboard data. So pass through, we can say like it is passing the XML. Whatever the incoming message in the connectors, it is the incoming message would be the SOAP envelope that should be like passed, and it should be mapped to clipboard data. So these are the two main mapping rules. So now if I finish this, it will generate these things. These rules, like two data transforms to map the clipboard data to particular to a page. So those pages would be used by the XML stream rule and creates a SOAP envelope. So let me open this activity. So in this activity, I could see one data transform which is needed to map data to that clipboard. Then have this connect SOAP, which will be calling the connect SOAP rule add to make a call to that service. Then apply data transform, it is for mapping again. So this XML stream and parse XML, you could see those things in the request and response. So add parameters is the XML stream, and add response is the parse XML which has been generated, and that would be used in the connect SOAP. So in the new wizard, like we'll be creating a data pages, and with data pages also we can call this connect SOAP rule. Since this one is simpler, I am trying to make use of this. I'm uncommenting this show page method so that I can see what exactly is coming there. So I need to map data to clipboard first. So let me open this request mapping this data transform. Currently it is not having anything, so I should set data to this temp data page. So it has created this add parameters page, and this A refer to the parameter class here, and this parameter class is having element A again. So it is 2 times A. So I just created with those parameters. You can try with giving different name. So then B is another parameter which takes A again. So I've updated the data to map in those pages. When I run that, it will be picked up. So those mappings have been used, and I got the response. So I'm returning so many things. These things I took as an example to just tell you how it would be mapped. I wanted to tell few things about this calculator. So it is result. It is returning result object. So this result object is having array of string and page. How it would be maintained in Wisdom? It is in the form of like array of XST string or array of page. This would be the notation. So if it is a list, list can't be mapped directly. It would be kind of an array itself in Wisdom. So this is how it works. And if anyone is having questions regarding this, they can ask me. So this is how the data, whatever we see in the WSDL, can be mapped to actual Java classes. So let me come to this add a connect SOAP rule, and this is the style which is being used by default. Like there it is, documents literal, whatever I have used in my service. So method name is add, and service endpoint URL, whatever the to which URL the request should be sent. So then I explained you about the request parameters. Here it takes this XML string, and not only this, we can have other things like clipboard, constant, and all. Since whatever the data is complex, it takes XML string. If it is taking only one thing, like taking only one integer, then it won't be using XML string as such. And this request header, if you want to send any header details, then you will be using this thing. So this particular header means HTTP header. So this is about the response, and the fault is used whenever there is any exception at the service side, then the flow whatever is followed is totally different, and it's in the fault code reason all these things will be mapped to these properties. So this coming to advanced, we have this WS security and WS addressing. Why this WS security is needed? Whenever we are making a call to web service, we'll be sending the request and getting back the response. But if we want to make that service as secured, we can make use of HTTPS protocol. But if we want to secure it in the SOAP envelope itself, then we can make use of this WS security. So if you want to make use of WS security for any service, you should check this enable WS security and enable WS addressing. First of all, this one, WS security will be enabled at the connector side when service is expecting it. So WS is configured at the service side. So we should create a security profile. I have one profile created. I'll just show what all the things would be available in the security profile. So basically WSS comes up with four things. One is the username, which is basically for the authentication, and another one is timestamp, where it will say if the request, whatever the SOAP envelope request, whatever we have sent, if it receives after that time, say we have mentioned 60 seconds, if it receives received by the service after that time, it will say it's not a valid request. So that's why this timestamp would be used. And the other things here is encryption and signature. Signature, what it does is it will create a digest of the SOAP envelope message, and that detail would be stored in the WS security header. Then that signature, I'll give you an example here how this is the skeleton of SOAP message, and coming to WS security, this is how it looks like. So you could see the SOAP envelope is having header and it is having body. So header is the one which contains this security details. So this is SOAP envelope which is encrypted. So it says this binary security token here. It is whatever the public key we are using to encrypt the message. Encryption and signature, it will be making use of the keys, the public and private keys for encryption and decryption. So here it will show like what is the public key which is being used to encrypt the message, and here encryption method, this algorithm, what algorithm is being used, RSA algorithm. So it will say like what is being used, and this one, this encryption method, it says which key. It says it is using X509 cert 00. That means this public key is being used. So then it will encode whatever the data, the XML data in the SOAP body, that would be encoded and kept, so that like no one would be able to intercept the data and understand what exactly is there in that. So signature and encryption, the differences in the signature will be creating an hash, and it will be stored in the header, and when the service receives that message, it will create a hash of the message again, and it will check like whether it is matching with the hash or what is already hash or the digest, whatever is already present in the header. So if it matches, it says okay, nothing has been modified in that message. Coming to encryption, encryption can be used to encrypt a part of the message or complete the body of the message. Like if you are passing some credit card information, only the credit card number can be encrypted. So those things are available, and it makes use of XML encryption and XML signature methods itself. So this is coming to WSS. So whenever you are having any case related to WSS, the main thing what you should understand is whether the service is WSS secured. So if it is WSS secured, you should check what are the actions they have configured for their service. So say they have configured username and timestamp, then you should mention in your outflow username and timestamp. Then like PRPC will create these things and put these in the security header, and it will send it to the service so that it can pass these details and it can work. Otherwise we'll end up with issues. The main thing we should concentrate is on whatever the configurations actions they have configured at their service end, that should be mapped in the outflow. And like if they are encrypting, signing the message, the SOAP response message and sending it, those actions to be mapped in the inflow. So this key store will be like whatever we'll be using, like whenever we are signing at our end, then like it will be using this key store. So this key store will take the I mean we have upload file option. We'll be uploading the JKS file itself or any other format as well it accepts, and we should the key store type we should mention here. So this is how the WS security works. I'll take up a few case studies here. Like whenever any issue occurs with connectors, what exactly we should do. So let me So I'll take two use cases. So one of the customer had reported that they are getting this error on the screen. That is, it is failing while processing this WSC security header. So in this case, it is the message which we got from the service. Now, in this connector related issues, like the issue can be while framing the request, or while transferring the request, or while passing the response. Or it can be like everything works, but whatever the request envelope we send to service, there might be some issue. How we could identify? So first of all, we can make use of SOAP messages events in the tracer. Whenever we check the SOAP messages events, it will show what exactly the SOAP envelope request which is being sent and the response we got it. We receive from the service. So I can just expand it and show. So yeah, you could see it is having soap envelope and whatever the details I'm passing, that would be seen in the tracer XML. So with this, we'll get to know what exactly is happening, and we can make use of TCP monitor tool also. So how that TCP monitor tool would be, it is a simple tool where we can mention the listener, host name and the port. This like whenever it is in your local machine itself, the service, then you can give localhost, or the otherwise it would be the host name, whatever you are targeting. And this listen port is the port like which you would be listening on. So I can give you an example with WSS. So this is the service endpoint here, 9001, and I am listening on this 9001 port.